Welcome to Consciousness Chronicles. I am Linda, and I am here with my beautiful friend, Millie America. Hello, beautiful friend.
Hello, beautiful friend.
And today we're going to not pull from the magic jar again, surprise, and talk about triggers, surprise, because triggers are big right now for everybody. When haven't triggers been big, Millie?
I don't think they were called triggers. I think they had other names. Like, I don't know, what word did we use before it was triggers and traumas? Like,
You pissed me off.
yeah, shit show here. Like we weren't aware that they were coming from way back there. It's funny, I had 3 clients last night, and for the most part, they were messages coming to them that they were actually for me. One of them was, it was a trigger that was coming up for my client, and it was a 10-year-old self. Her 10-year-old self was acting out, and I said, who's running the show? Is it you or your 10-year-old? And she's like, your 10-year-old is having a fit because it's being triggered by this. So it keeps showing up. And so I hung up and I went, ooh, my 6-year-old self, my little girl, Mildred is having triggers today, and I need to go see why that little girl is decided to run the show lately. And when you step back, so I had a rough night. I went to bed angry, and I don't do anger very well, because it's not like I blow up or anything. I internalize it, and I just like, it just sits there all night long, tossing and turning, and the sheets kept coming off the bed because I kept tossing and turning, and then I get up and fix my side of the bed, and once again, and I feel that when these triggers or traumas or PTSD, whatever you want to call them, it's your higher self saying to you, hey, we're still here. This is a deep awareness that needs to be healed. And because at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I laid there and I actually asked my guides, my higher self, for some guidance. Like, why is all these stupid triggers coming up? And they basically said, first of all, there's something stupid, and your judgment of them is not helping, because if they're coming up, it's because there still needs that healing to happen. And somebody said to me the other day that I was sitting in space with them that, well, when does this go away? When do all these? And I'm like, I don't think they go away. I think they lessen in power. I think we can, they're still going to be there, because if they're coming up, it's something, this is what made you. These triggers, these traumas are fragments of the person that you are today. So it's impossible unless you have, like, I had a head injury, so a lot of my 20s is gone. I don't have triggers. To me, when the memories are fragmented, they're not actual memories, or just what people have told me or pictures that I've seen. But I can remember my childhood really well. Like, from 19 back, I remember really well. So when these triggers show up, I see that little girl once again, just. So my partner and I were having, and this is a code for us now. My partner and I, months and months ago, we were at a restaurant and I ordered the soup, and the soup was just, it was nasty. And he's watching me go through the discomfort every time I would eat it. And we're having a conversation every time I eat it. It was like, it hit the back of my throat. And I would stop and I'd put the spoon back in there, and he ordered something delicious. And instead of me saying at that moment, yeah, you know what? There's something wrong with the soup. Bring me something else. No, because I didn't want to make the waitress feel bad or the kitchen feel bad. I mean, he brought that out of me because I wasn't even like consciously doing that. But knowing me, I didn't want to make anyone feel hurt because my soup was not tasty. So that whole scenario with the soup lasted more than a half an hour. I mean, it was getting cold because I just kept putting the spoon back. We would be talking, and once again, I would take a mouthful of soup, and they would hit me again, and I would push the plate a little bit further away from me. Finally, he just looked at me and goes, "Can you please just not eat that?" I'm like, "No, it's okay." And finally, I just gave up. Half of the plate was gone. I gave up. We're in the car, and he says to me, "You know, this is an observation, but you live your life like you just had that soup. Like you can't say, I'm not having back soup anymore. When do you get to decide I'm done with the back soup?" And I
Wow.
said, it's a trigger. If I say something to somebody and it hurts them in a way that I rather just say it. So now, many months later, I have decided when I'm done, and I am saying no more bad soup. Send this shit back. But yesterday I sat eating that nasty soup all day.
Oh,
And as the day unfolded and I had these sessions in the evening, by the time I went to bed, I was groaning. I couldn't even speak up or say, this is what's bothering me. This is nothing to do with you, but it's just there's stuff that's coming up today. And I don't know how to move past it. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I have this conversation with meditation, and what they said was basically, these triggers become a deep awareness that there's still healing to be done. And also that you can accept them and recognize that your inner child woundings are coming up because they need to be released and let go. So, okay, I decide I'm going to go for a walk early this morning. And I am living in the city where my ancestors all grew up. My grandfather, my mother, my whole family from my grandfather's side. And I'm walking back from the park, and it's, I don't know, 6:30 in the morning. And I decide to go through this little placita. Placita is like the center where they have plants and they have the older people gather in the weekends and they play dominoes and they have a festivity now for Christmas. They have it all decorated. And I decide I'm going to sit because I felt I'm going to sit here. And all of a sudden I hear my mother and my grandfather say, like in my mind, I'm imagining what they would be saying about my walk early in the morning and my triggers. Got up angry and I was like, this shit, just keep on walking. I'm not doing this ever again. I'm not sitting down here wondering or thinking about my family. What happens to triggers is if we don't, they knock or they ring the doorbell. And then when we don't pay attention, they take one of those things from the SWAT team and they go, boom, and they break through and you go, wait, what just happened? Because it comes in whispers and we avoid it and we avoid it. And it could be 56 years later. It could be 10 years later. I had a moment at 36, and I don't know if you knew this, but when you have a massive trauma in your life, it doesn't always show up until you double it. So at 36, I started to feel the shame and guilt of my rape at 18. I had gone to therapy, but I hadn't really dove into it. And what happened was at 36, I found myself in therapy. And I say to this woman, I'm here because I was raped violently at 18, and I've never really shared with anybody. And I don't know why now it's coming up. And she said to me, traumas and triggers, PTSD, it all shows up when you double the age. So if you haven't dealt with it at a certain age, it will visit you as you double. So let's say something happened to you at 10. When you're 20, you start to feel it. And if you avoid it, it'll come back up at 40. And it just keeps doubling. And so I did research because I was like, I'm not taking this as an answer. It's the truth. They've actually had a study that when you no longer deal with something or you avoid it, it does, the body, the cellular memories actually hold it to twice the amount of time. And so at 36, I found myself with 6 kids. I was wealthy. I had everything that anybody from the outside wanted to look at. And yet there was something deeply ingrained in me that I couldn't understand. And it was triggering. And certain shows would trigger it, or people would trigger it. And I just, words would trigger it. And I couldn't understand. And we went through it for many months. We dove deep into the aspect of the rape and the shame that came with it. And so here I am, not being triggered by that, but being triggered by other stuff of when I was a child here in Puerto Rico. And because I have not been in Puerto Rico since I was a child, all those things that I had put away about my spirituality, about my worth, about showing up authentically is now showing up because I'm in the place that created all. And, you know, my guys and the angels said to me this morning, you know, this is an opportunity for you to finally heal. They're not going to go away. Nothing goes away, but it lessens in power. And what are you supposed to be learning from that? I mean, as I spoke to my partner this morning and I shared, because I shut down, and he was like, I was wondering what was wrong with you yesterday. And you kept saying, I'm fine, I'm fine. Well, when he hears the word, I'm fine, you know, I'm not fine, but he knows enough to step back and let the I'm fine moment go through. And so after my walk, I sat down with him this morning earlier. I said, I had this, it triggered me, and I just needed the space to be able to deal with it. And the holidays are a big trigger for me and for many. And it's okay to honor it. And it's okay to move through it. What is not okay is to bulldoze your way through it and just numb it. Because if you numb it, you're really doing an injustice to your soul. Because your soul comes in with these sets of lessons. And if you just keep numbing it, what are you learning? What are you learning so you can elevate to the next, you know, to the next level of your consciousness? What about you?
Gosh, you touched upon so many things there. It's very serendipitous. My husband and I were talking this morning about this exact thing. And it's like he saw something the other day that said when you get triggered, you go back to that 8-year-old self or that 15-year-old self or whatever. So your argument with your partner might not even be the argument with your partner. You're back in that 8-year-old self because you've been triggered back to that space and time. So it's fascinating to me how that stuff works. And what you just shared there with the doubling up is very, very interesting. But yeah, this time of year, my previous marriage, I remember I got to the point where I just did not want to do the holidays anymore because every single Christmas day there was a big battle that went down, and it was my spouse being triggered maybe by the money that was spent on Christmas for the kids or whatever it was, that it would have to come up and he would have to lash out about it. And it was always a big blow up, especially since I was the bread earner of the family. So I was making the money and paying for the gifts, but it really, really brought him back to his childhood where there was a lot of lack. And it was just to the point where it's like, yeah, I don't even want to do Christmas anymore. And the holidays are still somewhat hard for me. My husband and I decided to get married. We went to the Justice of the Peace on the 24th of December and got
That's your
married.
anniversary?
Yes, because we wanted to have a reason to really celebrate the holidays, because we both kind of grew up as feral children, as a lot of Gen Xers did. I'm on the cusp of baby boom Gen Xer, but we were brought up as Gen Xers. We were feral children.
Mhm.
Our parents were non-existent. They were working. We were latchkey, all that stuff. So rather than participate in somebody else's dysfunction during the holiday or having bad flashbacks of our own dysfunctional holidays in our previous life, we decided we're going to do this beautiful union together on the 24th. And so we did. So every year
You celebrate that.
we celebrate that. Yeah. Yeah.
My father laughed. It's a story like you hear all the time. Like it sounds like a country
He
music.
went to get a pack of cigarettes at the corner store.
He went to get a pack of cigarettes in his
Shut up,
pajamas.
really?
And he promised that he was going to take me to the mall that day. I was 9 years old. He promised that he was going to take me to the mall that day to go see Santa. So we were at my older sister's house, which is about maybe 15 miles from our home. He took a taxi, broke into the shed to get a suitcase at the house because my mother had the key, and left to Puerto Rico when we were living in Florida. And every year on the 23rd, it's amazing what a little girl could do. I waited for him to come back on the day that he left. Like the rationale there didn't even make sense, but every year. And it wasn't until I was 18, 9 years later, that I went looking for him here in Puerto Rico. And I found him. And I said to him, one of the first things I said to him was like, why did you come back on the 23rd? I've been waiting for you to come back. And he's like, that makes no sense. Just because I laughed. What I did do was I had this beautiful long brown hair, and he loved my hair. He used to like play with my hair when I was sitting on his lap. And so as the 23rd of the following year came about, I chopped it all off. Like I literally took a pair of scissors, and you could see my school pictures. My mother had to go take me to get it fixed, but because it was like a tribute, like, you don't do this for me, I'm going to do this in spite. And I find it interesting that it was shortly thereafter that I actually found him, but then I got raped. So I had to deal with, like, months later, like I saw him like in June of that year, and I got raped in October. So I didn't even deal with that aspect of it. So when I went into therapy, I actually had to deal with the two things together. I had to deal with the fact that the little girl was abandoned, the day before Christmas, 2 days before Christmas. And then the abandonment of me stepping out of my body to deal with the shame and guilt of some stranger taking something so precious as my will, and it was all tied together. And so here I am, beginning of Christmas, in a country that started so many things for me. I don't have my children. And my cousin said to me, are you going to put up a Christmas tree? And I go, what? Just go to your house. You have decorated. Your house is beautifully decorated. She loves Christmas. I said, I'm not doing that. I neither one of us really wants to do that. We're just going to just sleep through it and get through it. Because I think every day, and I was that person that when I had money, every room in the house, my big house had a Christmas tree. Everything was decorated to the, like I went through, from Thanksgiving to the 1st of January, it was over the top to make sure that my children hated it, but I wanted them to experience the whole Christmas holiday. Even though in my mind, it's like, can I just sleep through this fucking holiday? I don't want to deal with it. And it does trigger a lot of people. It triggers people that are not financially able to find the means for this commercialized holiday. What I am learning is that in Puerto Rico, it's not even about that, because most people don't have that kind of money. They really celebrate, like every day we hear the fireworks outside, and they start at Thanksgiving and they don't end until after January 6th, 3 Kings Day, and they're living it up. They don't need much. They're just the music, it becomes all about celebration, the food. In the old days here, you better have your pajamas on, the ones you like, because at any given time, a group of people will just assault your house, and you better have some food for them. They don't do that so much anymore, but you didn't know when it was going to happen. They live it up. as we get closer to the holidays, they do that. And I think for me, it's triggering because the holidays have always been a place of, it wasn't right. It was, my mother was a single mom and she had to struggle to get gifts, and it was definitely not a fun time. And I'm sure that in her own, also she was probably being triggered, also the fact that her husband just took off. I mean, now I realize what she went through. And so here I am yesterday, just in the midst of it. And then when I give this reading to this woman and I realize my 6-year-old is the one in charge. My 9-year-old is also in charge. And those little girls are kicking and screaming like nobody's business. And I'm trying to avoid it all. It's honoring. It's actually sitting in the gut and going, okay, I might not understand what exactly is being triggered. It doesn't have to be the holidays. It doesn't have to be that I don't have my little ones or I'm not seeing my adult kids. It doesn't have to be this or that or my father or my mother. But your cellular memories hold all of your secrets. And if you don't honor that part of it and say, okay, I hear you, and I am going to be more gentle. I'm being a lot more gentle with myself these days than I've ever been in my life, rather than, walk it off, run it off, exercise it, avoid it. I am really being gentle. How about you?
Well, it's interesting as you're talking, I'm going, you know what? We are here to heal this generational trauma. It's no mistake that triggers is the buzzword right now, because we had parents who stuffed it all in, who avoided it, who pretended that everything was good and okay. And here we are as children looking at this going, something is very much wrong here and it's awful. And now as adults, we're here learning that triggers are something to be dealt with, are something that is coming up to be healed, to be taken care of, to be addressed, to have peel back all those layers of the onion, because it's our job to heal the generations before us and after us.
I have a way of looking or searching like a scavenger hunt for joy, even in the smallest things. Not everybody has that ability.
That's why I love you so much, because you have perfected that art, my dear.
We went hiking on Saturday and we were in a dune and we were going up to a tower and it was a long hike. And as we were passing, there was this little fern, this little plant that looked like a fern. It's just, there was no wind or anything. She was just, and then as soon as we stopped and looked at it, she stopped. She just stopped. She stopped moving. There's a little Shakira right there moving her hips. It's like, and so I was just in a state of wonder. And he probably would have walked past it just like everybody else and wouldn't have noticed. But we just sit, and they're on the way back down. I was like, oh my God, we're near that little, let's see if she's still dancing. And as soon as we were right in front of the plant, it stopped. And so I'm standing there talking to this plant, like out loud, like a crazy person. Come on, you can do it, move it. And it started shaking again. And I've seen videos of studies in Cambridge University and other universities where they're actually putting those things to hear the sound of them and to see the movement and how they actually interact with humans. Like you could actually talk to a plant, and the plant is an organism, it's a live organism. It actually moves to music, depending on how you talk to it. And so, one of the things he says is you have this ability just to find in the simplest little things the joy. And it's not that it's not that I'm avoiding the other stuff, but I think that living in the past constantly is an addiction that I don't want to live with. And when a trigger comes up, it's almost like a knock on the door going, okay, you have avoided this long enough. Let's deal with it. Next time it comes up, it might not feel this hard. It might not even bother you this much. But if you keep pushing it down and numbing it, eventually it's going to cause you some kind of ailment in your body, because that's what diseases are, is this ability to just store it all up, and then it comes out, and however it comes out. I have this foot issue that the months that I was walking the beach 6 miles every day, it actually hurt my foot. And so it's hard to walk like I used to walk the distance. And so I'm being mindful, because my go-to thing when I don't want to deal with something is to walk miles on it. Put on my earbuds, my headphones, and just go and not even think. I can just not think. I can block it out. But I've done a tremendous injustice to myself. And so my body is saying constantly as a reminder, you gotta be more gentle. You can't bulldoze your way through this. And yesterday was hurting a lot, and I didn't go walking. So it was like I was just in it, just trying to navigate it all and going, okay, I'm gonna sit with this, I'm gonna pay attention. And it's not just the holidays, it's the year, it's 10 years, it's a deep awareness that we're always going to have something in our humanness, because that's what makes us human. And when we touch those wounds and caress them and love on them, we're also releasing not just our stuff, but those of the people that came before us. And forgiveness, we forgive ourselves and we forgive others in the process. This shit, it's not fun.
Yeah. I watched my mom bottle up decades of broken heart from my father, from not being able to live the life that she wanted to live, and always feeling stifled. And she literally gave herself a broken heart. She died of heart failure. My cancer journey, I look back on that, and all the resentment and anger I held within the gut finally manifested in stage 3 cancer. I mean, you can't ignore these emotions, because the body's going to take them and put them somewhere physically for you to deal with. So you have to deal with it.
I know. Almost a year and a half ago, I had a heart attack. And that heart attack was all about a broken heart. It was about seeing what I did not want to see, accepting what I did not want to accept, and seeing my participation in it all. And it broke me into a million pieces. So it's no wonder people get, like my father died. He had, I don't know how many open heart surgeries. He had a broken heart. He came in here with a broken heart. And he, I feel that when you do touch upon those things that are so painful to look at, you're releasing your body from repeating all those things and getting some kind of disease or disorder or something.
Yeah.
Thank you. Always. Because you're that person that I can call and go, I have a few, I'm grateful that I have a few friends that I can do that. I go, I'm not happy today.
Right?
I'm not happy. And you don't even have to ask why. You just say, oye, chica.
Hola, chica.
Chica. And I'm waiting this morning when I talk to you. That's the first thing I heard was like, hola, chica. I'm like, I love that you say that to me, because you're speaking my lingo. You're speaking my language. Just by showing up and saying, hola, chica. And I think everybody needs, if you don't have a group of friends, go find your group of friends, because
Yes.
It's the lifeline that There's nothing better than somebody saying, girl, I got you, or I understand, or this is shit. This is a shit
Yeah.
show.
You don't need somebody to fix you. You just need somebody to hear you and see you.
Yeah. And say, girl, I got you. Or damn. And if not, just send reels back and forth to each other.
We're good at that, aren't we?
We really are. So
Oh, I appreciate you so much.
I do too, sweetheart. I really do. And I'm in the white room.
I know. You're with God. You're with God. You're in heaven. I feel like Morgan Freeman's going to pop out of the background any moment.
You know, it's funny, they came to touch up the paint in this apartment, and that thing back there, the fire alarm, it was yellow. It was like old and yellow. And the painter goes, what do you need in this room? That you need to paint that white. Because that thing looks like the sun when I'm on the computer. And he said it in Spanish and he laughed at me. And I go, no, seriously, like, you want to see? So I pulled up the computer and I go, look. And he goes, oh, yeah, it looks like the sun. And I go, yes, it doesn't make it white. So it probably
Oh,
think I'm
funny.
great. Until I get something back there, it feels like, and the sunlight's coming in. It does feel like I'm in the white room with the Matrix, you know, or like you said, with Morgan Freeman and was it Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny. Well, thank you for being here today and sharing your
Me
beautiful
too.
stories. I appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody else out there. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yeah.